Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. Now that spring is here, I've got some good plans of what I want to get accomplished over the next few months here in the train room. Winter is always tough for me because it gets so cold in the garage, and it's one of those things that I'm going to remedy at some point with new windows, door, insulation, mini split, and all that good stuff. But all those things seem to keep taking a back seat to everything else that needs to get done. But that's okay. I was still able to get out here and do some stuff, so not a total loss. And it gave me time to sit around and reflect on the layout, where it stands, and where I'd like to see it go. I think we would all agree that it's about darn time to see some trees and some green, grass, bushes, something on the layout. And I can't say I'm there yet, but the gears are turning and I'm trying to get there. Besides trees and, greenery in general, less pink and more green would be lovely. I'm starting to get a little closer to figuring out where buildings might go and where different structures or scenes might reside. The large flat section of the expansion is a great spot for a city, but I just haven't been inspired for that yet, besides the fact that it seems to be a catch-all for a bunch of stuff and also a work surface for now. So I'm staying away from the larger areas like that, and I'm trying to think about smaller scenes. And I'm going to show you one of those scenes in just a few moments. Starting on the left side of the layout, you might notice Turtle Mountain has made its return. I think I mentioned before that since I now have the expansion, I have a place for city, and I don't feel the need to fill that spot with buildings. So I'm back to the idea of making that a larger mountain. I'd like to see it go up towards the wall a little bit and maybe cover the upper loop a little bit. That spot being mountain, I feel like it makes a lot more sense visually to how that section is created, but also on my vision for the whole layout. We have the new mountain in the corner. It still requires some work. I haven't done anything on that since I did the video on it. I'm trying to decide what I want the final product to look like. It's going to be mostly covered with trees and maybe a cabin or two. I've got that one little shack up there. I'm thinking maybe a little complex of shacks or a small house or two might be fun. But mostly greens and trees. And however I really end up detailing that mountain, we'll go for the mountain that's to the right of it as well. The wild card's really what's going to happen with this bridge that's in front of it. I would still love to make a custom bridge. With those two bridges there, I can operate the upper loop. Not that I can operate the upper loop at the moment, it's still a mess, but that bridge is not keeping it from happening. Center section here, the valley, if you will, with what hopefully might, maybe, possibly still be a viaduct in the background. It's really engine storage at the moment, but I am thinking of some sort of semi-functional yard that may or may not connect to the inner loop. I did pick up a couple of Menards switches, so maybe I will work this little yard into an actual functioning yard, which would be a lot better than pulling all the engines off the layout all the time. This whole section is the biggest question mark at the moment. The upper loop is pretty much gone based on the things I had to do during renovation of the layout. Some of the track is still there. I mean, the overall shape of the table is still there, but when I built that, I incorporated 027 track into it, and those turns are they're just way too tight. I mean, even for trains that can navigate the 027, it just slows it down so much. And I'd rather have something with larger turns that I can run something nice and slow on, that I don't have to worry about it stopping on 027s. That's going to take quite a lot of reworking. The upper loop, or the middle loop, I should be able to get that working again relatively simply. It's just a matter of how I connect it on the other side of this mountain. There's been some good stuff happening over on the expansion. Basically, I guess because it's like a blank slate and I've had the freedom to kind of just do something different with it. This is one scene I've been playing with a little bit. I have that animated billboard I'd like to get wired in. And then I had one of those hobo jungle shacks that I had painted. I really kind of like the shape of it for that space. So I'm thinking a rundown shack, a derelict pickup truck, and a bunch of trees and growth overgrowing the shack and the base of the billboard. In front of that is my first quote-unquote real section of road on the layout. And this is made with some of the Woodland Scenics foam that I got from Sean when we were cleaning out his layout. It's essentially the same stuff that's under the tracks, but it's a wider cut. So this is about, maybe this is a standard gauge cut for the road bed. It makes a pretty decent road. It's easy to work with. You can bend it, blend it, whatever. It works in pretty well. I've got one car in the tunnel, and that's a Lionel portal that I cut down and then did a dark wash on. And behind it is 3/4 of a coffee can to kind of make the interior of the tunnel. The pickup truck in the tunnel has headlights. These other two cars on the road do not yet, but any car that goes on this road most likely will have headlights. Or maybe headlights and taillights, depending on the vehicle and what I can get done in it. In addition to that scene, I carried the road over the lift bridge, and I've got a couple cars on there, and they are both lit. The taxi cab has headlights and one tail light because the cab's an old, kind of overused and damaged vehicle, so he's got one tail light. And then we've got the Woody here that's got headlights, people, and painted interior. No taillights on that one though, but those do both light up. And I also just recently installed the telephone poles. It's just 4 poles at the moment, but when you've been looking at a layout that's basically pink and brown foam for a long time, any little update like this just feels momentous. And just a closer look there at the tunnel. I ended up with 4 or 6 of these Lionel tunnel portals that I'm not going to end up using for the layout because a lot of my tunnel portals are on track that isn't straight. So you end up with an issue where you get a new piece of equipment, it goes around the turn through the tunnel portal and it hits. The great thing about foam portals is that I can just carve them out a little bit more. Can't do that with the Lionel portal, so maybe I'll do another tunnel or two like this tunnel here. I started a little bit of groundwork on the driveway for the shed there. I laid down a little bit of white glue, then sprinkled gray ballast and brown dirt over it, and then put some diluted glue over the top. Not the best method, but it seems to have worked. Not much happening over here other than a parking lot for a bunch of cars and a bunch of smoke fluid and some paint and adhesives and stuff like that. I'm pretty up in the air about what I'm doing with this section. Either I work in the grain elevator or take that off there and do something completely different. I still like some sort of fake siding there, just for visual interest at least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. The back corner here by the electric panel has gone through a bunch of different ideas. I was looking at this 3D printed church that I've been working on and thought that might be a great spot for it. But I'll probably change my mind about that spot about another 15 or 20 times. One thing I seem to have a problem with is trying to figure out where to put the beacon light. I have 2 of them, the one that vibrates and the one that spins because of the heat from the bulb. I'd like to get them both on the layout. I just really have no concept for where you put a beacon light. Where would it make sense to put it? I don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion on that, but I would like to get it in somewhere. It's just one of those neat old accessories I want on my layout. This section here is one that I've been working more on than any other section recently. I have a couple of building flats I had picked up for a few bucks. 2 buildings I got from Nick that he had picked up at Kutztown, I think. The water tower on top of the building is one I 3D printed, that originally printed in black. And I painted it with brown and gray and a little bit of black, trying to texture it a little bit. I've got this blinking Lionel water tower hooked up. First permanently connected accessory on the layout, I guess. I've had beacon lights on the layout before, but they've never really had a home. I think this water tower is staying here. It's part of my Lionel scene, or my Lionel factory scene. This mostly came about because of those two vehicles. I'd gotten them at one of the shows, and I figured they needed somewhere to belong. So I figured, why not have a Lionel Trains building? So then I cut this sign from an old damaged box and put it on this building, and that was going to be it. But then I decided this building should also be part of it, so I took another damaged box and cut this big sign / billboard for it. So these two buildings together will kind of be my Lionel office building / factory. The other two buildings, I don't know that they're going to have a name. I feel like we're looking at the back side of the buildings, so I don't really care to put any signage on them at the moment. This here was an idea I just got yesterday. I set these buildings up and there was a space in between them. And I thought, oh, it might be neat to stick something in there that can kind of be a background building. And that's an HO scale building kit that I figured I might try to put it together in such a way to make it look like it's a little bit further in the distance, paint it dark colors, make it really kind of muted, so it hopefully looks like it's further away. I'd like to start committing a little bit more to the scenery and not second guess myself so much. So let's just say this: yes, it's going there. I need to cut a backing board for it, something to attach it to, put the windows in, put the building all together, and paint it. Don't know if I'll light it or not, depends how deep it actually ends up being. I'm going to light these other buildings, and I think this whole corner is going to be a lot of fun. This driveway / parking area material is the same as the foam under the track. This is the Woodland Scenics foam. It's just in a gray, and it's wider, and it just ended up feeling like it would work well for a parking lot area. You know, what do I do to make it look a little bit more like a work surface? I thought maybe putting some diluted paint on the wheels of a couple of vehicles and then just running them, you know, kind of back and forth a few times where the most driving would happen, to give it the effect of kind of a used industrial concrete surface. These two flats, the plastic was really thin, and when I put a light behind it, it would just shine right through, and that's not something that I want on the layout. So I took some time and I painted maybe 4 or 5 layers of a black craft paint on the inside, and purposefully got it on the windows so that even with the light behind it, they would look dirty and kind of obscure the view inside, because it's only like, you know, 1.5 inches deep. So it's not like there's gonna be much in there to see. And I've got just a piece of foam core behind it to kind of act as a backing. So the next step for these buildings, I think, is to add illumination and see how that goes. I think what's stopping me from that at the moment is just figuring out how I want to wire everything. And if I just want all the lights in the layout to be on all the time, or if I want different sets of lights or different scenes to be able to turn on and off. So I've got the pedestrian bridge here, and this is the one that will tell you the speed of your trains as they pass by. And yes, if it looks familiar, that's because it was on Nick's layout. Just another thing he very graciously passed on to me when he was done with it. The lift bridge. I don't want it to look like a lift bridge. I want it to look just like any other part of the layout. So I've started working on the foam edging to make it look just like the rest of the front of the layout. I've got the street that's going over it with the telephone poles and the cars that light up. And I think that's just fun. If you come in here and you don't know that's the lift bridge, you're not necessarily going to expect it because of the way that I built it. I'm hoping, you know, people will come in and be like, what, you have to crawl under that? And I'll be like, no, look at this. The whole thing lifts up. That's just fun to me. I don't know. It's like hidden passages and you know, unexpected things. I think it's just kind of fun. Part of making the lift bridge blend in is making it part of a scene that's on both sides. So on the far side is where I've got the tunnel and the billboard and the hobo shack. Got the telephone poles lined up to be in a line, both on the bridge and over it. This side, not so much yet. The road comes to the edge here and just stops. It will probably stay like that for a while until I start working on this section of the layout and then this road will continue most likely kind of down a hill with rock retaining walls on the side of the track, and I don't know, a railing on the other side, maybe a footpath. But that will tie this bridge into the layout on both sides, and I hopefully make it look like just part of the layout. I've got my work cut out for me. I've got more plans than I have time or energy, but I'm sure that goes for most of us. I'm still cleaning up from the mess I've made over the winter, and then working on the mountain. I've now got a stack of foam scraps here on the middle of the floor. I've got my workbench pulled out because I was working on an engine. I got stuff on my couch. It's getting better, but it's not quite there yet. But hopefully I'll have some weekends where I can really get in here and get working on some of this, because really I haven't been this excited about the layout in some time. I mean, I was excited about the expansion, but not the way I am about getting to a point where I might actually have some scenery. I mean, I've got a couple of random trees stuck around the layout, and they're just making me so happy. I live in the Northeast. There's trees everywhere, so this big brown barren landscape doesn't really do it for me. So hopefully I will get some of these projects done, or at least moving, and have some decent layout updates for you over the next few months. If there's something I'm forgetting to add to the layout that you would like to see, obviously besides trees and scenery, or types of scenery or something like that, let me know. I'd like to know what other people would like to see on this layout. I mean, it's been brown and pink for so long, it's kind of hard to visualize it looking scenic. So shoot me your ideas. I'd love to hear what you think. I love getting different ideas and pulling them together. I mean, it's fantastic. I love the way that it's kind of an organic process. I mean, this whole expansion happened because my buddy sent me that Menards bridge back there. I don't think the layout expansion would have happened if it wasn't for that bridge, because I got that bridge, I took it to the box, I'm like, I've got nowhere to put it. So you never know when something's going to trigger a major addition or modification or something. So if you've got some ideas about scenicking this layout or things like that, I mean, I'm not ripping it down, I'm not starting it over, so I got a lot more work to do before this comes down. But so if you've got something constructive like that, let me know. I'd love to hear it. And hopefully I'll be back soon with another update. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.